Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Gopi Jana Balava Girivardhari. Yasodanandana Vraja Janaranjana. Jamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Rukmini Dwakadish, Rukmini Dwakadish, Rukmini Dwakadish, Rukmini Dwakadish. Jaya Vishnupad Paramahamsa Prabhujakacharya Satrata Sri Srimad Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON BBT founder charges Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jaya Vishnupad Paramahamsa Prabhujakacharya Satrata Sri Srimad His Divine Grace Srila Bhaktisaranta Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Anantikori Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Namachar Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem se kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Sivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopinath Shama Kunara Kun Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Sri Mayapur Navadip Dham Ki Jai. Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai. Jamuna Mai Ki Jai. Ganga Mai Ki Jai. Srimati Tulsi Devi Ki Jai. Srimati Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Gaura Premananda Haribo. All glorious assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Sri Guru and Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So reading Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd canto, text number what, 13th? No, chapter 13, text 45? Something like that. Is that right? Yeah, Savai Bhatta. Yeah. I think it's 45. Yeah, it's 45. Sa Vai Bhatta Brasta Matis Tavaistate Ya Karmanam Param Apara Karmanaha Yad Yogamaya Guna Yoga Mohitam Vishvam Samastam Bhagavan Videhi Sam Savai Bhatta Brasta Matis Tataishvatsate Savai Bhatta Brasta Matis Tavaisate Yakarmanam Param Apara Karmanaha Yad Yoga Maya Guna Yoga Mohitam Vishvam Samastam Bhagavan Videhi Sam Savai Bhatta Brasta Matis Tavaistate Yakarmanam Padam Apada Karmanaha Yad Yoga Maya Guna Yoga Mohitam Vishvam samastam bhagavan videhi sam savai bhatta brashta matista tavaisate yakarmanam param apara karmana yat yoga maya guna yoga mohitam Vishvam samastam bhagavan videhi sam Savai bhatta brashta matista vaisate Yakarmanam param apara karmanaha Yad yoga maya guna yoga mohitam Savai bhatta brashta matista vaisate Yakarmanam param apara karmanaha Yat yoga maya guna yoga mohitam Matista vaisate Yakarmanam param apara karmanaha Yat yoga maya guna yoga mohitam Vishvam samasta bhagavan dehitam Savai bhatta brashta matista vaisate Yakarmanam param apara karmanaha Yad yoga maya guna yoga mohitam Vishvam samasta bhagavan videhitam Savai bhatta brashta matista vaisate Yakarmanam param apara karmanaha Yad yoga maya guna yoga mohitam Vishvam samastam Mataji's Savai bhatta brashta matista vaisate Yakarmanam param apara karmanaha Yad yoga maya guna yoga mohitam Vishvam samastam bhagavan dehisam Savai bhatta brashta matista vaisate Yakarmanam patnam apara karmanaha Yad yoga maya guna yoga mohitam Vishvam samastam bhagavan videhi Saha he vai certainly bhatta alas Brashtamatihi, nonsense. Tava, your. Ishate, desires. Yaha, one who. Karmanam, of activities. Param, limit. Apara karmanaha, of one who has unlimited activities. Yat, by whom? Yoga, mystic power. Maya, potency. Guna, modes of material nature, yoga, mystic power, mohitam, bewildered, vishvam, the universe, samastam, in total, Bhagavan, O Supreme Personality of Godhead, Videhi, just be pleased to bestow some good fortune. Translation purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. O Lord, there is no limit to your wonderful activities. Anyone who desires to know the limit of your activities is certainly nonsensical. Everyone in this world is conditioned by the powerful mystic potencies. Please bestow your causeless mercy upon these conditioned souls. Purport. Mental speculators who want to understand the limit of the unlimited are certainly nonsensical. Every one of them is captivated by the external potencies of the Lord. The best thing for them is to surrender unto Him, knowing Him to be inconceivable, for thus they can receive His causeless mercy. This prayer was offered by the inhabitants of the higher planetary systems, namely the Jana, Tapas, and Satyalokas, who are far more intelligent and powerful than humans. Vishvam Samastam is very significant here. There are the material world and the spiritual world. The sages pray, quote, both worlds are bewildered by your different energies. Those who are in the spiritual world are absorbed in your loving service, forgetting themselves and you also. And those in the material world are absorbed in material sense gratification and therefore also forget you. No one can know you because you are unlimited. It is best not to try to know you by unnecessary mental speculation. Rather, kindly bless us so that we can worship you with causeless devotional service. Om Jnana-timirandasya Shagananjana Shalaka Chakshu-Manitanjena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasari Gaur Bhakta-vrinda Panchakalpatarubhyascha Kripasinda Paritana Pavanebhya Vaishnavebhya Namo Namaha. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai. So, this is a very amazing kind of verse and purport because it deals with individuals or personalities who are much far more intelligent and powerful as humans, making a prayer of how one should surrender to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It says, mental speculators who want to understand the limit of the unlimited are certainly nonsensical. And Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Mata paratanam nayat kinchin asti dhananjaya mai sarvam idam aprotam satre manigana eva. In that verse, Krishna says that, O conqueror of wealth, there is no true superior to me. Everything is rests upon me as pearls are strung on a thread. So Krishna, he gives his definition, idea of who he is. Just like you have neck beads, I have neck beads. If you cut that, you'll see everything will scatter. So everything depends on Krishna, as he says, as pearls are strung on a thread. And so it's very interesting here how when I read this purport, I was thinking how there are these scientists, scholars in the world today, and when they read matters of this, they think that we're just simply brainwashing people, that we're saying something to brainwash them, to keep them away from engaging in material activity. So they accuse us of brainwashing. Many years ago, in the early 70s and 80s, we had to fight this idea of brainwashing. They accused us of that we were we are brain, and we're washing the brain. But the idea is that not only are we brainwashing, but so are the scientists. They're also brainwashing. Now, we're brainwashing people with Krishna consciousness, which comes from Krishna. They're brainwashing people, which comes from the frog mentality. Prabhupada gives the example of a frog or two frogs sitting in a well or in a pond, and they're conversing with each other saying, how big is the Pacific Ocean? How big can it possibly be? And so one frog is thinking, well, it's this big. And the other one says, no, it might be this big. So they're going back and forth. They're speculating what the length and breadth and width is of the Pacific Ocean. But when one frog says something, they become puffed up. No, this is the fact. Then the other one will say, no, this is the fact. So each time each frog is getting very puffy and puffy and puffy. And eventually they're so puffy that they just explode and they die. Because they can never understand. They don't know what the length, the breadth, and the width of the Pacific Ocean is. So we have scientists today that are just like the frog philosophy. So you can take your pick. If one wants to take the philosophy of Krishna consciousness, that kind of brainwashing, or does one want to be brainwashed by the frog mentality? And I kind of, like when I was reading this particular verse, I was thinking like that. That was really something that came to my mind, that so many people are being so cheated in this material world. And this cheating is going on by who is saying what. So in Krishna consciousness, whatever Krishna says, that's a fact. We consider that to be a fact. And they don't take that authority, but they take the frog authority. And this mentality, this speculation, creates nothing but discord and unhappiness in this material world. So, going on, it says that the best thing for them to surrender is to surrender unto Him, knowing Him to be inconceivable, for thus they can receive His causeless mercy. This is the very important part of this purport, that Krishna is inconceivable, and the frog mentality can never figure out. Whereas if we follow the path of Krishna consciousness, it tells you how to achieve that understanding. There is a whole process that we are engaged in. So our Krishna consciousness movement is teaching people how to become submissive to authority. It's a very important point. Before we come to this movement, we don't really want to become submissive to any kind of really authority. But we're always listening to authority. All the time, every day. You pull out your phone, you look at the weather, and it says it's going to be 82 degrees today. You accept it. You don't even think about it. We're accepting that as an authority. Just on a daily basis, we get bombarded with so many different types of advertisements. This is the authority. So everybody's saying, well, I don't like to accept. But every day we're accepting it. Whether we like it or we don't like it, it's happening all the time. So the Krishna conscious movement is trying to help people understand how to become submissive to the authority given by Krishna, who, as we said, is everything is strung or depends on Krishna as pearls strung on a thread. Everything is dependent upon the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The rising and the setting of the sun, the earth staying within its axis. All these things are there by the potency, the transcendental potency of Krishna. So, if we actually want to become knowledgeable, then we have to approach a person who is a representative of Krishna, of self-realized soul. Tadviti paripatena pariprashnena sevaya. We have to approach that individual who has completely become sold out to Krishna's will. And he's transcendental. He's beyond the conception of material platform. And he's completely attached and focused and surrendered and submissively working on behalf of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So in the Vedic culture, in the process of Krishna consciousness, this is very important, to submit oneself to a bona fide spiritual master. If we want to learn about transcendental subject matter, which is beyond our scope of understanding, it's beyond our thinking, willing, it's beyond anything that we can mentally speculate about, just like the prayers here by these great saints from the Jana, Tapas, and Satyalokas. They're praying that people will wake up and that they'll actually come to senses that they see that this material world is very, very temporary. We're not of this world, we're of the spiritual world. But they're praying that they get this information from a self-realized soul for the benefit of all living entities. And that's an important aspect of understanding the mysteries of Krishna consciousness, what we teach. So it says nipata. Nipata means submission. We have to submit, and that's very important. And first, one has to find a person they can submit to. That's obvious. And then when we do find such an individual, a qualified individual, then we have to submit ourselves. And we have a nice picture painted here of Krishna and Arjuna on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. And this is very important, because at one point Arjuna does say, Shishasteham siddhi mam prapanam. First, Krishna and Arjuna were talking very friendly with each other out on the battlefield. They were just talking about, oh, my family members, I'm so sorry, and what are they doing? So they were back and forth discussing. Then Arjuna was saying, oh, I can't do this. I don't want to kill my brothers, my relatives, my friends, my guru. I can't do this. Until Arjuna said, Shishyashyam, until he actually made that comment, until he actually just said to Krishna, my dear Lord Krishna, we've been talking so friendly, but it's Maya. There's nothing to it. There's no solution to this. Until Arjuna submitted himself to Krishna, then immediately after that he became understanding to what his duty was, what Krishna was saying. He understood when he submitted himself. So if we want to know transcendental knowledge, if we actually want to understand these things coming from the Bhagavatam, we do need to submit ourselves to a pure devotee of the Lord. And not only submit, but to serve. Because Arjuna on the battlefield, he submitted himself, but he also served Krishna. Krishna had a desire that everyone on this battlefield that are atheistic had to be gotten rid of. So Arjuna did that service for Krishna. So those are two big principles that are important in order to understand the science of Krishna consciousness. And also, Krishna is the first spiritual master. He's the first spiritual master. So anyone who's, any bona fide spiritual master who's in that lineage of Krishna, he's a bona fide spiritual master. And he's capable of giving us Krishna consciousness, because Krishna is the original spiritual master, and it goes down in disciplic succession, and they're simply saying what Krishna said. And because of that, they become like a bona fide spiritual master, someone that can actually give us the science of Krishna consciousness. So we see that in the Bhagavatam, I think, what is that? Dharmam tu shakshat panitam, right? Yes. It says that. Yes. That says that Krishna is the originator. He's actually the original speaker of the Bhagavatam, of the Krishna conscious philosophy. And if we actually, and then if there's a person who's actually surrendered and preaching the same process and surrendering to the process, that's a bona fide spiritual master. And that individual is a qualified person to give us the science of Krishna consciousness. So just to reiterate, the Krishna conscious movement is teaching this philosophy. And it's for everyone. There's no discrimination. But one has to have some kind of intelligence also. One has to be beyond just an ordinary person. Because we see, we have a temple room here, And there's so few of us, and there's so many that are outside the Krishna conscious movement. So it takes a special kind of individual that really wants to know the science of Krishna consciousness. And this science is something that is only it's rarely even given, because people don't want to submit themselves. This idea of submission is not really in terms of their types of psychology or even in their lifestyle. To them, it's like a very dangerous thing to do, to submit yourself. So it's very difficult. But it's described that Mahat Sevam Dvaram Ahur Vimukte. If one wants to become liberated from this material world, we have to surrender to such an individual. We have to come to that point. So the secret of advancement, if we are in Krishna consciousness, the secret of advancement is pleasing such a soul, such a person, such an individual. And of course, again, that takes submission. If we submit to such an individual, then we can understand the science of Krishna consciousness. And this word vimukti, vimukti is important to all of us, liberation. We all want liberation. You can see in the world, there's so many scientists. And these scientists are constantly trying to relieve us of so many inconvenient situations. AC in hot weather. And scientists figured it out, made AC. We're cool. It makes it feel good. So we're all looking for vimukti, from liberation, from the difficulties and the anxieties and stress of material life. So it says here that this vimukti, this is important for all of us. But real vimukti means getting out of birth, death, old age, and disease. That's real vimukti. And that can only be understood by the association of a pure devotee of the Lord. It's the only means. You have to come in contact with a pure devotee of the Lord in the disciplic succession of Krishna. And then we can get real vimukti. We can get out of this material world, birth, death, old age, and disease. Otherwise, people in this world are very blind. They speculate, just like the frog philosophy. They speculate on what to do, what not to do. And because of this, when one is blind, leading the blind, Prabhupada said you fall into a ditch. So this world is based on the blind following the blind in terms of trying to understand what the purpose is of human life. This is extremely rare to understand. Before coming in contact with Srila Prabhupada and the devotees, I never even thought of these subject matters. I thought that there was only one thing in life, and that was to enjoy sense gratification, to be happy in sense enjoyment. I never even delved in the idea of self-realization. I didn't even care about it. It was something I didn't even want to even associate with. I thought it was boring, in fact. And so the power of association is extremely important. I recall that when I was still living in the material world, that I would go with my friends somewhere, and somehow or other, I just start talking about Krishna. I said, oh, Krishna's this, Krishna's that. I read Krishna, this. And then they would finally just say to me like, hey, you know what? Why don't you just go live with him? We can't take it anymore. Get out of our sight. Just leave. And then I was thinking, it really hurt me, but then I thought, wow, they really did me a favor. They were actually my best friends. They told me to go join Krishna consciousness, and I did. On their behalf, I did. I didn't even think about living in a temple. I went to the temple a few times. It didn't even cross my mind that I should live there. I just thought I was going to go there and take some prasadam, maybe chant a little bit of Hare Krishna, and just get into like philosophical discussion. But only when they came up to me, 2 or 3 of them, we were in a van one day at a park. We were trying to enjoy throwing frisbees and stuff and doing other crazy things. And just out of the blue, one of my guys that I thought was my really good friend, I thought he really cared about me, he said, hey, man, get out of here. We don't want you to be around anymore. And I was shocked. I was shocked into Krishna consciousness. And it was the most beautiful thing that ever happened to me in my life. So here I am, practically 50 years later, and Krishna consciousness means everything to me. And I came here because of my friend who kicked me out of his association into association of devotees. So this is very glorious. What do they call that person, a guru that does that? Yeah, Apartmadarshan Guru. That's what he was. So I am grateful to him to this day. And so, yes. Okay, so we'll read a little bit more. Here it says, this prayer was offered by the inhabitants of the higher planetary systems, namely the Jana, Tapas, and Satyaloka, who are far more intelligent and powerful than the humans. Vishvam Samastam is very significant here. There are the material world and the spiritual world. So Prabhupada says there, yes, there are two departments. There's a civil department and there's a criminal department. And the civil department is like Vaikuntha, compared to Vaikuntha. In the civil department, everybody's harmonious. There's no arguing. Everybody's very happy. Everybody has the same goal. It's harmony. And we see that when that's there, the serving Krishna becomes very beautiful. So in Vaikuntha, everybody's on the same page. They're happy there. There's no fear, there's no enmity, there's no anxiety, there's no birth and death. And they're simply happy, engaging in Krishna's service. So this is the civil. Now the other one's the criminal. And the criminal, out of the creation of Krishna, it's 1/4. 75% are Vaikuntha-nites. 25% are in the criminal category. And so in the criminal category, we see there's so much discord. There's birth, death, old age, and disease. There's suffering. People are cheating each other, killing each other, taking advantage of each other. And this is only 1/4 of Krishna's creation. And that's where we are. We're here because we're criminals. And we're trying to get out of this prison. And the material world is a prison house. And the Krishna conscious movement is the panacea. It's the path of getting out of this prison that we're in, to get out of this criminal mentality. In that criminal mentality, we don't want to cooperate with each other. We fight, we kill each other, we use each other. And then we wonder why we're not happy. Why can't I be happy? Because we see that in the material world, everybody's doing everything as a criminal. Because we are criminals. So the Krishna consciousness movement is the movement that can get us out of that criminal mentality. And we can go back home, back to Godhead, back to Vaikuntha, where everything is cooperative. And so there's the civil and there's the criminal. Our position is to get out of the criminal and get back into the civil association in the Vaikuntha planet. So this is the Krishna conscious movement. This is called real intelligence. This is real knowledge. Not staying in the prison house and trying to figure out all so many ways that you can manipulate being in prison to get a little bit more better food, maybe to get some drugs, maybe to get a little bit of power, but you're in a prison house. It doesn't mean anything. Who cares, really? Those of us that are not, like if you take a prison here in the material world, who's envious of anybody in the prison? Really. And when you go there, you don't even want to go there because personally that they're so degraded lifestyle. You don't even want to talk to a murderer. Why? What? It's degrading. So who wants to come and talk to a criminal? No one. So Krishna consciousness is trying to get us out of that criminal mentality and bring us back to where we're supposed to be. Where it says in the Bhagavad Gita, Tesam satatam yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam dedami buddhi yogam tam yenamam yupayanti te. Those who are constantly engaged in devotional service of the Lord with faith and love. This is important. The ingredients are faith and love. And that has to be there. It's not that you do mechanical, but we have to do it with faith and love. And one will actually get the intelligence from Krishna. With faith and love comes intelligence. Intelligence means that you'll be able to understand and go to Krishna. That's what's important. And these great personalities, they're praying for all those us in this material world to have this kind of intelligence, get this kind of knowledge, and give us this opportunity in order to go back home, back to Godhead. So, Buddhi Yoga. Buddhi means intelligence. Prabhupada described Buddhi Yoga as being activity in Krishna consciousness. That's Buddhi Yoga. This is the most highly intelligent activity that one can perform in the material world. And yoga means mystic. So devotional service to Krishna is mystical. And it really truly is mystical. Like for instance, when we were first devotees, and I happened to go back to my hometown and I saw my friend, he said, "Hey Becca, I don't even know you anymore. You're a whole nother person. What happened to you?" And I was thinking, well, I'm just chanting Hare Krishna. In fact, when I went home, even my mom and dad didn't recognize me anymore. She didn't even, like my mother, all she could do is look at us and just cry. Tears were just coming from her eyes. She couldn't even believe what happened to me. So, yeah, they didn't recognize it. So, this is the power or the potency of Krishna consciousness. It can transform the living entity, but it takes love. We have to perform this activity, this service with love. It's essential. Otherwise, we don't get the intelligence how we can go on. So, this process of Krishna consciousness is how to get out of that entanglement of this material world. How to get out of that criminal entanglement and become a sane person. Yes. Bhogaishvarya prashaktanam tyaparita chetasam vyasyapmika buddhi samadhona vidhiyate. It's described there by Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita that in the minds of those personalities who are attached to sense gratification, and this is extremely important for us, because everything we do in Krishna consciousness is to get rid of sense gratification. We work hard to get out of it. We also try to work really hard to get out of material opulence. So you can't expect to be in Krishna consciousness and really get into a lot of sense gratification or want material opulence. Because if we want those two things, then the activity of devotional service won't take place. It won't happen. It doesn't fit. It won't happen. So we have to get out of this platform. And if we're bewildered by such things, that's also important for us as devotees. We can become bewildered by people who are absolutely absorbed in sense gratification and wanting to make money. We can become very, somehow confused, and we can actually glorify them unknowingly or knowingly. So these are the things that really create a problem for a Krishna conscious career. That if we are too much involved in sense gratification and we associate with individuals that are very difficult to make progress in spiritual life. So the importance of actually having a bona fide spiritual master will guard us against this by their preaching, by their example. And if we follow that example and we preach like the spiritual master, then we can become freed from this entanglement. And this is what these great souls are requesting, that we become, or we get absorbed in samadhi. You become samadhi. Samadhi means the mind becomes fixed. It's fixed on devotional service. And every day when we're chanting, we should pray to become fixed in this process of Krishna consciousness. And this is real samadhi. We don't have to just sit there. We just have to chant nicely and become fixated on our service to Krishna, to the spiritual master. And we can become freed. We can become happy and so satisfied in our Krishna conscious career. Okay, I'm going real over, and I've got a lot more to say, unfortunately. And I don't want to take any more time because I'm only about halfway through what I want to say. So anyway, I think I've said enough. Thank you very much for your attention. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.